learned it may be a lot more than that. Trump bragging that in addition to the $16 million, he anticipates receiving $20 million more from the new owners in advertising, PSAs, or similar programming for a total of $36 million. Senator Elizabeth Warren, Democrat of Massachusetts, who sits in the Finance Committee, has said this could be bribery in plain sight. And in response to Trump today, quote, "This reeks of corruption." And Senator Elizabeth Warren joins me now. What is your understanding of what the president appears to have posted about some secret side deal for the conditions of a merger?
Right, well, that's what I want to find out. Donald Trump is the most corrupt president in the history of America. And that's why I'm investigating these settlements. Look, settling under these kind of conditions where Donald Trump gets $16 million funneled into his future presidential library, and it turns out maybe another $20 million from the other party to this hoped-for merger, so that they can advance an $8 billion merger. Look, this looks a lot, smells a lot, sounds a lot like you're purchasing favors from the President of the United States. And that's a serious problem. That, if those facts are proven, that sounds a lot like bribery. And even with Donald Trump as president, bribery is still illegal in the United States of America.
You know, there's even been reporting, multiple reports, that the lawyers at Paramount have precisely this concern. In fact, there was letters sent by some state representatives in California about this very issue, but we've had reports that basically lawyers inside Paramount were worried that settling the deal would look like bribery. But now it appears, I mean, this is what's kind of mind-blowing, there's some sort of punitive cover in the settlement, right? You get sued, parties settle lawsuits, fine. But if there's like an extra $20 million of agreed about payments the president announced today, like that doesn't even seem to have a colorable legal rationale other than like you're giving the guy who can greenlight you money.
Right, come on, Chris. $16 million didn't have a colorable way to explain why it was that this settlement was taking place, given that just across the board, everyone had said there's no merit to this lawsuit. But there are two things that are going on here that are intertwined. One is the obvious corruption of saying, in effect, that presidential favors are potentially for sale. But the other is the extortion element of this. And that is saying, in effect, to someone like Stephen Colbert, to someone like the Paramount Group that wants to do this merger, Donald Trump can withhold favors. Donald Trump can bring down the power of the United States government to shut down your business transactions, your activities. Shoot, your very popular television program. It's about Donald Trump exercising control over our media and signaling to everybody out there, if you cross Donald Trump, there is potentially a huge price to pay, whether it's blocking a merger, it's suing ABC, whether it's suing the Wall Street Journal for not liking that the Wall Street Journal has reported more on the Jeffrey Epstein case. And that means that we're watching these two things work together. Corruption on the one hand, benefiting Donald Trump personally, but also this exercise of raw power over our media that undercuts a core part of our democracy.
Yeah, you sent a letter to, along with Senators Sanders and Wyden, to David Ellison, who's the CEO of Skydance, he's the son of Larry Ellison, who's obviously a huge Trump supporter. There was a meeting between Ellison and the chair of the FCC, Brendan Carr, just a few days before the announcement that they're abruptly canceling the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And I said this online, and I'm curious to get your feedback. Like, I don't think it's wildly an overstatement to say that the test of a free society is whether a comedian can make fun of the country's leader on television and not face repercussions. Like,
Right.
that's kind of what it means to live in a free country. And I don't think Donald Trump likes a country like that. And it certainly looks like he's going to do anything in his power to make it not be a country like that.
Well, I kind of would like to think that's the minimum bar, to having a strong democracy. But watch what Donald Trump is doing. It's the media, it's universities that he's going after, it's law firms, it's entities, organizations, and individuals who have the capacity to be independent and to push back. And whether they push back with comedy or they push back with lawsuits or they push back by just doing academic papers that show what a mess you have gotten our country into, all of those are important in a democracy. All of those entities that can push back, that's a part of what keeps us free and keeps our democracy strong. And it's why it is so important that we can't just look the other way. We can't say, well, it's late night television, so maybe it won't be as much fun to tune in if Stephen Colbert's not there. No, it's something much more important is at stake here. And it's why we all have to speak out and why investigating these settlements is so important.
Senator Elizabeth Warren, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.
You bet.